some important news if you're an owner of Nintendo 3DS or just thinking of becoming one.
I'm gonna be able to come.
You guys, you're gonna help me.
My body is ready. My is coming.
Okay, that's all the I've got. I gotta get back to playing Animal Crossing New Leaf on my Nintendo 3DS. And if you want to live large like me, what's wrong with you?
I suck.
Hi! Now I know what you're thinking. You've been thinking it for years. JSS, when are you going to show us your frog purse? Your pretty frog purse? Well, for years I thought you can't handle my frog purse, but today, as a treat, I'll show it you. It's a frog purse. It's a pink leather frog purse, look. Opens, look, clasp. Its clasp is a mouth. Huh? So, it's awesome. And oh, I know why you're underwhelmed. You want to know what's in frog purse. Well, Mila Jovovich is gonna dance on your grave. Oh no, Justin, do something with that. Here's the latest on Google being a terrible company run by terrible people who do terrible things because they love being terrible and love to kiss all the terrible stuff they see. And someone once brought a bag of terrible things like spiders and flies and wasp stings and bits of sick into Google's head office and spilled all the terrible on the floor, and then everyone frantically pulled their pants down and got on their knees and picked up handfuls of the terrible and just started fucking all of the terrible. Google's sick. It's got sick ideas and it should fuck off. Actually, yes. Quite seriously, Google is sick, run by sick freaks. So as we know by now, Google Stadia is a waste of everybody's time, and Google knows it too. Recently, we discussed how Google has shut down its Stadia development studios, despite having more of an incentive than anyone to have games on their game system, which is for games. But there's a cruel twist in the tale, because we're talking about Google, and Cruelty is their business. It turns out that just before closing those studios down and leaving tons of developers jobless, developers who relocated, by the way, in some cases, Google fucking thanked them for all the hard work they were doing and promised news on upcoming strategies, all while not telling them the work was for nothing and the strategies included shutting them all down. The frankly two-faced and insincere praise came from Stadia boss Phil Harrison, gaming's undisputed king of failed projects, a captain who has managed to never go down with his ships, and someone seemingly so uneducated in his own business he thinks ISPs would raise data caps just because Google wants them to. Now this mewling pillock sang staff's praises just days before they were jettisoned in mass layoffs, almost as if the entire point was to make those layoffs feel much worse. Stadia Games and Entertainment has made great progress building a diverse and talented team and establishing a strong lineup of Stadia exclusive games, Harrison said, allegedly not adding tee-hee. We will confirm the SG&E investment envelope shortly, which will, in turn, inform the SG&E strategy and 2021 objectives and key results. So yeah, a deliberate lack of note that this SG&E strategy included halting all that great progress and kicking out that diverse and talented team, and cancelling that strong lineup of games. And people can argue that he wasn't under obligation to inform staff of decisions before they were announced, but if that's the case, if he didn't want to do that, if Google didn't have the spine for that, he didn't have to say anything. He didn't have to blow out a smoke up his people's asses when he knew they were for the chop, and he didn't have to provide almost mocking clues in his email that we could read back on and say, ah yeah, that's what he meant by strategy, that's what he meant by envelope. Like, I have to ask at this point, for corporations, is it a sex thing? Is it like a kink for executives to not just lay people off, but to be as close to a fairy tale villain as possible about it? Because this is not uncommon. I've heard far too many times about people who are praised and made to feel great about their work right before the very people complimenting them turfed them out. And then we have the other extreme, like what preceded the layoffs at Blizzard. Months and months of layoffs being rumoured about, being expected, with no clue from management or from Activision if these rumours were true, and if so, what would happen to who, how many, where, no details. Just a big sword of Damocles hanging over their careers for months, including the holiday period no less, before it finally fell in February. Oh, and in a story shockingly common for this and other industries, those laid off had no idea they were laid off until they saw it on social media along with the rest of us. They didn't even tell them that bit, of course. Petty little coward fucks. There is not an ounce of decency in that move. There's a phrase most often used to describe gloating GOP senators or other fashy shitheads. The cruelty is the point. I struggle to find a reason not to believe cruelty is a big part of what informs the decisions of capitalism's powermongers, because it never seems to be enough to just suck billions of dollars out of the world and into their pockets. No, they have to twist the knife by explicitly treating their workers like shit, flaunting as many regulations as possible, and looking to inflict a quick bit of human rights abuse whenever they can get away with it. We've already seen the game industry is so callous in its greed it doesn't care who gets stepped on, who gets conned, and who gets hurt. But when we add the rampant abuse problem in the industry, the petty meanness of both the layoffs and how they're done, and the culture of terror that requires any developer speaking up for themselves to remain anonymous, there can be no doubt, by design or just by happenstance, it's a cruel fucking world out there. And it genuinely doesn't have to be. Fuckers love to claim life isn't fair. Well, no, in some ways it isn't, not on a cosmic scale, but that doesn't mean us down here should get to make it even less fair. That just makes you a monster at the end of the day. A fucking monster.
Grandad always said, a burrito a day will keep the burritos away. But look, regular peelers, they slip, they slide, they get stuck. Grandma's got arthritis. She can't be using one of these. Ronnie Neville here with the ultimate Irish peeler. This is your serrated blade, this is your julienne blade, and this is your burrito on the back. You take a burrito, and yes, I know I'm Irish. This is the ultimate Irish prep ball. We love burritos. I know I'm Irish, I know you've all the jokes. You pull them away. You have an eye left over in that burrito, you turn them around, you dig them in, and you pop the eye out.
But my favourite is the veggie holder. It fits perfectly in your hand.
When you do the tops, always remember, you pull them away. You take your cabbage, you cut them in half. That's your coleslaw done. Have you ever tried to peel one of these? No more tears peeling. The only tears you'll have are tears of potatoes. The ultimate Irish potato spiral. You dig him in, you turn him around. Now the more you turn, the more he cuts. And around he'll go deeper into your potato. You open him up and he's gonna come out crispy, roasted like a chip. You get both of these.
I'm not sure what that really means. Grandma taught me that. She knows all the tricks.
And if you order right now, watch what I'm gonna do for you. I won't stop.
Look, 2021 might so far be just 2020 part duh, but that doesn't mean you have to feel sad and alone and pathetic. You most likely do and will and deserve to, but that doesn't mean you have to. After all, your favourite corporations are finding ways to continue doing business. Thank fuck. To the point where some of them are having their most successful years ever, due in part in some cases to the pandemic. And doesn't it cheer the heart to know that this man got his $30 million last year for doing nothing while 500,000 people in the country died? You know, it's that kind of underdog story that makes me feel like everything is gonna be okay. Most importantly, and this might be the biggest news, since 2019, there was a new Nintendo Direct. A proper one. A full one. Truly a sign that we are on the road to normal. A road we want to be on, because the pre-pandemic idea of normal was totally not the reason 2020 was so fucking lethal. No, it wasn't the fault of a for-profit healthcare system and class-based economic distribution that utterly devastated poorer communities and incentivized businesses to stay open for short-term gains, even if it led to long-term loss and hundreds of thousands of deaths. No, it was socialism's fault, probably. Somehow, I mean, look at this fucking breadline. That's what I was told socialism was, so it must totally be happening now. Anyway, there's a new character added to Smash Brothers that no one asked for. Smash Brothers appears over the past couple years to have grown a particular partiality to a type of character known colloquially among Smash fans as the anime sword fighter. While the series is world famous for its big name characters, surprise crossovers, and increasing expansion out of purely Nintendo based franchises, the big mashup fighting game has of late been more interested in filling up on Fire Emblem and Xenoblade characters, which genuinely isn't a problem. It's really good. Unless you're not that really into Fire Emblem or Xenoblade. In truth, the game isn't absolutely full of these characters, but there are quite a few, and when people whip themselves up into a frenzy expecting anything from Master Chief to Courage the Cowardly Dog, the revelation of yet another Xenoblade Chronicles character isn't going over well with everybody. This, however, was just one in a conga line of disappointments for the Nintendo fans who, once again, expected the moon on a stick and instead got a dog near a radiator. I don't know what I mean. Anyway, there weren't massive major announcements, and like every time Nintendo didn't have massive major announcements, the masses were left a bit dejected and wanting. Those ready to hear about Mario Odyssey 2 got Mario Golf instead, which, it's fine. It's just not the consolation prize some would have hoped for. And those desperate for an update on Breath of the Wild 2, meanwhile, got this.
I'm sure a lot of you saw me and thought there might be news about the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild game. Unfortunately, we don't have anything to share right now.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
We apologize.
Nintendo wasn't the only corporation making a big return to the world of marketing spectacle. Oh no! The authoritarian lackeys who run Blizzard brought their beloved BlizzCon event back after not doing it during last year's utter chaos. Now, personally, I couldn't give a rat's ass about BlizzCon unless J. Allen Brack has another pathetic non-apology on behalf of his spineless company. But there are people who enjoy the event because they, I don't know, like video games or other childish bullshit that's beneath me. They seem like Nintendo fans to be disappointed. Though that bit where Metallica had their own song DMCA'd on Twitch was funny, especially because it's Metallica, aka a big reason why the music streaming situation is such a fucking disaster of a joke. Haha, they look stupid and they deserve it. Oh no, this is real, I didn't even edit it, this is fucking real. Like most contemporary marketing events, and indeed like me, Blizzard did it digitally this year with BlizzConline. I did a sex joke. Also, like most historical marketing events, loads of shit was leaked in advance. But even if it hadn't, BlizzConline would still have let some people down because it was, by all accounts, wank. Just a load of old games, dull news and wank. As Kotaku puts it, Blizzard's virtual showcase was a tepid hour of previously leaked reveals for World of Warcraft and Diablo. Some Hearthstone news, a passing mention of Diablo Immortal, and no Overwatch 2. As we're fond of saying these days, it could have been an email. I've spoken in the past about expecting too much from game events, or really expecting much more than contempt from the industry in general. But this week I started to just have a little bit of a think about the responses to both Nintendo and Blizzard this week. Not because those responses are necessarily wrong, and certainly not because a pair of video game publishers are right Jesus. No, my problem is a lot more overarching than that, and smug. But honestly, we need to take a step back and look at ourselves and really examine what we're doing here. People are upset and disappointed, not because anything bad happened, or not because a game itself was actually bad, or a company had done anything particularly wrong. As usual, I wish some people would be half as mad at Ubisoft. They weren't disappointed that a project was killed or a studio shut down or anything like that. No, we get disappointed when we don't get the commercials we want. When we're disappointed by a bad Nintendo Direct, an underwhelming Game Awards reveal, or a press conference that has more information for investors than Crash Bandicoot fans, we're literally upset that we weren't advertised to. And it's a trend I've seen grow as massive reveals and heart-pounding, over-promising trailers have become the norm across all of entertainment media. These days you need your big villain revealed with no mystery whatsoever. You need plot twists in there these days. What, you need half the fucking story. You need all these details because there's gonna be like millions of bloody trailer dissection videos where they go through everything. Oh, is this a clue? Oh, is Benedict Cumberbatch running around with his, I don't know, he's waving a strap on about. Photoshop it, just fucking Photoshop it. Look, we've got Comic-Con to think about. We've got billions of people glued to their computers because they want to see a bit of the Ratcatcher. Or the Swarm. No, don't do the Swarm. He's a Nazi made of bees. There are about 30% of Americans that identify with it now. You can't have just an entertaining product on its own. You need an entertaining ad campaign, multiple reveal trailers, deliberate info leaks, massive shock returns, so an endless gaggle of hyperactive teens can do those reaction videos and scream long into the night. Got a croaky voice today. When Nintendo explicitly announced a small-scale third-party direct last year, they delivered exactly what they said they would, and fans were upset because there wasn't a Nintendo secret commercial anyway, because they still anticipated adverts they didn't get. Adverts. I've been guilty of it plenty. I mean, I say guilty. I don't think anyone has to feel bad. I still get excited by the odd trailer here and there, but maybe I'm just old. But I don't care about what these events do anymore. I'll watch them when and if I can be bothered. I'll naturally be pleased when something personally interesting is announced. I mean, they've got a new Samurai Warriors. I hope it's nowhere near as shit as Dynasty Warriors 9, but I can't be so invested in an hour-long commercial break that I'm going to expect or want anything out of it. They're fucking ads. I'll just look at links to all the individual trailers on Polygon the next day and click on whatever sounds good. And that Kotaku piece on BlizzConline stumbled upon the truth of it when it states the event could have been an email. Yes. Every video game event ever could always have been an email. In fact, let me tell you literally the best way to experience an event. God damn, I'm a cynical piece of shit. Email. As in, just fucking email me a list of links to your fucking trailers. Absolutely joyless. I mean, I guess it'd cheat Polygon out of a click, but, you know, I will click on the 3 I give a shit about, and you can fuck off. I'm just tired is the thing. I'm sick, and it's been a long time following this industry, and it don't get better. Oh, it doesn't get better. Email it me! Then I don't have to sit through an hour of fucking Hearthstone being reminded executives exist. I don't have to watch a Microsoft press conference and hear about Forza. I got no problem with it. But I don't care. I don't like cars. I don't like cars. I've got a phobia of driving and they're boring unless they're yellow. I don't like cars. Basically, what all I'm trying to say is this. Normalise turning game events into emails. Oh, wait, no, that's just a press release. A few weeks ago, the developers of Euro Truck Simulator redefined hypocritical centrism in gaming, claiming to have no stance on vaccinations while players were delivering them in-game. At the time, I thought that was the pinnacle of cowardly developers exploiting political imagery and situations while claiming they're not saying anything political. I was wrong. 6 Days in Fallujah has been a thing for a long time. Well, it was a thing a long time ago and then it wasn't a thing for a long time. Konami was set to publish it in 2009 but washed its hands of the situation after protests. And since then it was in development and then just disappeared. Over 10 years later, someone else thought it was a good idea, so 6 Days in Fallujah out of nowhere and with nobody asking for it is back. And here's the kicker, here's the chaser, here's the fucking punchline you knew was coming. They're actually trying to say, I shit you not, that 6 Days in Fallujah isn't political. I mean, 6 Days is explicitly based on the Second Battle of Fallujah. It was a brutal and bloody conflict as part of an intensely politically fueled war that to this day remains a topic of furious political debate. Some 800 citizens died in that, the bloodiest battle America's seen since Vietnam. Most controversially, the US was accused of using white phosphorus, the abject horror of which constitutes a war crime. The military committed countless crimes and human rights violations in its reckless war on terror. Images too disturbing to show here marked the nation's merciless, torturous, inherently destructive presence. To say nothing about that in works based upon it is to do America's whitewashing for it. But according to developer Highwire Games, it's all just a fun shooty bang bang time. Absolutely nothing political whatsoever about the Iraq fucking war. And it should be pointed out that families of those killed in that battle protested the original release. But again, nothing political. For us as a team, Peter Tampt, the publisher head, says it is really about helping players understand the complexity of urban combat. Nothing, again, political about urban combat. Urban combat. Urban combat. You know, like where people live. It's about the experiences of that individual that is now there because of political decisions. And we do want to show how choices that are made by policymakers affect the choices that a Marine needs to make on the battlefield. Just as that Marine cannot second guess the choices by the policymakers, we're not trying to make a political commentary about whether or not the war itself was a good or a bad idea. Then how will you show the effects of the decisions of the policymakers? Either these decisions had positive consequences or negative consequences. How are you going to show the consequences neutrally? Or are you just talking bullshit and the game will turn out to be really shallow? I feel like it's going to be one thing or the other, mate. He said there are things that divide us. He said, and including those really divisive things, I think, distracts people from the human stories that we can all identify with. Human experiences are defined by political situations. A war is a political situation. Sorry, I was speaking with my hands just over my face as I said that. What else can one fucking do? You're gonna look at the impacts of political decisions while not looking at the political What divide by 0 paradox of a game are you making, tamped? Anyway, the debate over the phosphorus is one of the most notorious, one of the biggest talking points, one of the biggest controversies of that battle. And the game is not interested in any of that. And he doesn't want sensational things to distract from the experience of the game. So I guess we can't expect anything that isn't 100% accurate. I want you all to remember that, so that when 6 Days in Fallujah comes out, we can see just how non-sensational it is. And how they're going to do that in the most centrist, say-nothing way possible? Well, I can't wait to see that. Perhaps playing the game will make them curious and they'll want to learn more about all the things that have happened in Fallujah since the 2004 battle, and that will lead them to their own conclusions from doing the research. But right now, simply ignoring the battle is not going to cause them to think about all of its consequences. So you're not going to show the consequences, you're not going to discuss the consequences, you're just going to shove a Wikipedia link into people's hands and say, there you go get your own background, go get your own history. Oh, we're basing our game on history, but we're too fucking scared to tell you about any of it. Fucking... just fucking hell. It's a self-parody. The industry's just taking the piss out of itself and it doesn't even know it. The makers of 6 Days in Fallujah don't want to say if America should have been in the Iraq War. It shouldn't have been there. America shouldn't have been in Iraq, and it shouldn't have done war crimes. There, easy. It's easy to say. It's as easy as the vaccine question. Just say what you believe. Just say it. Just say what you think. If you're gonna do a game about a politically charged war, say what you fucking think. This might be peak game industry spinelessness. I could go over how offensively wrong it is, how having no political stance is, as a passive support for the status quo, a political statement, how ignoring the controversy and refusing to comment on the politically charged situation it's exploiting makes high-wire propagandists and cravens, but you know all that because I've said all that many times. Well, not the bit explicitly about high-wire being propagandists, but that bit is true as well. For years, game publishers and devs have pulled this stunt, outright lifting political history and symbols with neither the knowledge nor the courage to actually say anything with any of it. It's grotesque, and it's based in money, of course. They want so badly to use real stories and real lives in their products to sell them, but that's exactly the issue. To a mainstream game maker, all history and real stories and real lives are fucking products. They're to be taken advantage of, and because they're so scared of pissing off the gamers TM by making a decision one way or another, they lie and say they're totally apolitical. And they're not. They're goddamn liars. And ultimately, these fucking developers and publishers are telling us that their industry is fucking pointless and impotent as artistic endeavors. Because for all the lamentations within and without the industry that games aren't taken seriously enough and still treated like toys for babies, shit like this just proves that attitude right. Nothing says you're a toothless, artless, disposable piece of trash like being something that says nothing. Something so lacking in substance it can take the second battle of Fallujah and ignore every crucial element of it, to focus on that gameplay and them graphics, and to maybe whimper out, oh, well, war, well, some people get hurt in that, don't they? The AAA industry is fucking pathetic. Also, for reasons I won't go into here, may have done us sick, we ain't got an outro, so thank God for me. I mean, it wouldn't have been good if we'd have done one. I'm just hitting things on the desk. I mean, the video's over. I'll just say thank God for me because people like it when I say that, and then we'd do credits.